Hello and welcome again. This is part 2 of the video series on how to read and understand Shakespeare, particularly about Sonnet 18. So let's pick up where we left off in part 1 and let's look at the criteria Shakespeare uses to compare you to the summer. In other words, we're going to look at how the main sections are structured. So what do we have so far? So far we know that we have two main sections, by means of which Shakespeare is comparing the summer to thee, to you. Okay, Shakespeare is about to compare you to the summer, and he's about to do it in terms of two criteria. And what are the criteria? They're loveliness and mildness. Let's see, in line 2, he says you are more lovely and you are more temperate. These are the two criteria that he should be using throughout his comparison. Let's see if Shakespeare actually uses these two criteria to make this comparison. Let's take a look. Let's read the sonnet, lines 3 through 14, and see how Shakespeare accomplishes what he wants to accomplish. So line 3, rough winds do shake the darling buds of May. Which of the two criteria is Shakespeare using here? Well, he's talking about mildness. Why? Because rough winds, they shake the darling buds of May. The winds are rough. Okay, now because the winds are rough, they're not mild. It's the opposite of mild. So you see how he begins by talking about summer and showing you with a picture that the summer is rough because it has rough winds. Next, line 4, he says, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Now I'm thinking here, the date is too short. It has something to do with time, not necessarily with being lovely or temperate. So I'm going to leave that for now because I'm not sure he's talking about loveliness or mildness here. And let's move on to line 5. Okay, we're going to come back to line 4 and some of the other lines. But let's talk about line 5. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines. So it's too hot, meaning it's again about mildness. The summer is not mild. So you are milder in comparison to the summer, right? Because again, the summer is too hot. The winds are rough. The sun is too hot. It's not mild at all. Very good. So far we have two examples of mildness, two examples of the second criterion. Line 6, and often is his gold complexion dimmed. Okay, the complexion is dimmed. This has to do with loveliness because when it's dimmed, it's not lovely enough. Okay, beautiful is bright, or bright is beautiful, but dimmed is less lovely, it's less beautiful. Therefore, line 6 is about loveliness. He's saying, well, summer is really not that lovely compared to you, at least, if you think about it, because his gold complexion is often dimmed. Okay, the summer sun is often dim, so it's not quite as lovely. Very good. So let's look at line 7, and every fair from fair sometime declines. So wait a second, it sometime declines. Again, it seems to have something to do with time. By chance or nature's changing course untrimmed, right? This continuation of this sentence. Interesting. To me, it doesn't seem like it's about loveliness. So could it be that there are actually three criteria? Well, let's take a closer look. We're going back to line 4. And summer's lease hath all too short a date. Summer is simply too short. That is the problem with the summer in line 4. Not that it's not lovely, not that it's not mild, but the problem with it is actually it's too short. It is too short. Let's look at line 7, actually lines 7 and 8. Every fair from fair sometime declines. Fair meaning beauty. Any beauty at some point declines, meaning it's at some point it will die. It will die by chance or simply by nature's changing course untrimmed, meaning nature's course is changing. It will change. Therefore, any beauty will eventually die. That seems to be the argument here. So it has nothing to do with loveliness, nothing to do with mildness. And let's continue and let's take a look at the section about you, about the second subject of comparison, right? Thee. But thy eternal summer shall not change, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest. See, but your summer shall not change. It will never change. It will never lose the possession of that beauty that you own. So again, it has to do with time. See, the summer is too short and it will die, but your summer shall not die. You will always keep what you own. Let's look at lines 11 and 12. Nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. Yes, death may be hovering around and about, but it will not have you. Okay? Nor shall death brag thou wondrous in his shade. The death is powerless against you. Death is powerless against you. Very interesting. Again, has to do with time. The death will never have you. And how come? Well, lines 13 and 14 tell us. Because so long as men can breathe and eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. For as long as human beings are alive, you are alive in this poem. So it looks like the third criterion is longevity. It is being long-lasting. How long does the summer last? Well, the summer in section 1 doesn't last very long. It has all too short a date. It will decline sometime, meaning at some point in time it will die. However, section 2, starting in line 9, starts with a but. Okay? However, your summer will not change. It will not lose that beauty. Death will not have you, because for as long as men can read this poem, meaning people can read this poem, you will be alive in it. How interesting that Shakespeare actually uses 3 criteria, not 2. Very interesting. And so as a result of looking at the structure this way, so now we see that there are 3 criteria. And because there are 3 criteria, this changes, actually expands the main point that Shakespeare makes. As a result, what we have, the main argument is you are more lovely. Okay, so I will compare you to the summer's day, and here is my point. You are more lovely, more temperate, and number 3, you are more long-lasting, meaning you are virtually eternal. Okay, so as a result, this is what we have done. We have looked at the structure, and we have been climbing that ridge. We've been climbing that side of it where it says structure. So we identified first that we have 2 main parts, 2 main sections to the sonnet, and we also identified just now that there are 3 criteria that Shakespeare uses. Okay, when you think in terms of numbers, okay, how many parts, how many sections, how many criteria, how many characters, how many this, how many that. When you think in terms of numbers, this really helps you to identify the structure. And as we were climbing the structure, we were ascending also in meaning. So as we went up in structure, we also were gathering meaning. And now at this point, we can say, okay, I got it. I really got it, because at this point, you pretty much understand the sonnet, perhaps 90 to 99%. Now, in the next video, in part 3, we're going to talk about how Shakespeare actually accomplishes, how he uses vocabulary to accomplish proving his points or supporting his argument.